And if no one joins right away, we'll just treat it like a show anyway, like we're recording this. And you're live. We're live.
All right. Hey guys, you're watching
Oh
Daniel and
wait, hold on,
Gian.
hold on.
Oh.
Yes, we are live. Yes, we are. Sorry. No,
All right.
it didn't let me confirm it, but we're good. We're good.
All right. Hey guys, this is Daniel and Gian talk live. Today we're going to be doing a full review of Satya, the 1998 RGB gangster. Would you call it an epic? What would you
I
call
mean,
this?
it's two hours and 45 minutes, so yes. But then by that extent, every Indian movie is an epic. I think it's an epic. It takes place across like multiple different fields of sociology, social classes, and you have your politics, you have your gangsters, you have your love story. That's pretty epic stuff. I feel like with deaths.
There's
I
definitely
don't know.
some deaths in there. There's quite a few deaths.
Well, I mean the ramifications of these characters, like they affect a lot of people. That I think that makes it epic.
Right. I mean, and that's he throws that title card at the end of the movie where he brings that up as well. Like he's talking to the
I cried for everybody's death, not just for like the cops' deaths or something like that.
yeah, exactly. But let's talk. Let's get into technical terms on it, man. What did you think of the cinematography or the direction? Let's combine those into.
Well, I mean, I mean, not what I thought, but let's just talk about it. I mean, period. Not an opinion of it. Just talk about it. I think, in terms of cinematography, I think it's definitely one of those movies you look at and you think, as an American, because just the way we're watching movies, that the movie was shot in the 80s or the 70s, potentially late 70s. But the reason why I say that is because it has that old grain film stock. Things are obviously shot very cheaply, very like I don't know if I don't want to say natural lighting for everything, but I'm sure there's definitely circumstances where natural lighting was like the main source. But it just gives it, because they were shooting on not the best grain, or not the best grain, but not the best film stock, and they didn't have the best everything at their disposal. It gives the film a realistic and gritty approach. So it almost makes everything just feel more impactful and more intense for the audience. At least for me, there's definitely some weird, like technical hiccups that I like. Definitely some wider shots where you see a character literally like hanging on the very edge of the frame, like you could barely see them. Like it was weird. Like it was definitely they wish they had a wider lens type of situation or something
Mhm.
like that. But you can tell they were in a small space, so they just made it work. But that kind of goes with the whole thing. Um, yeah, I mean, film. I liked it. It's hard to really comment because we're watching like a DVD release version of it, and it's like low quality just by virtue of it being a DVD quality. So like, I'd love to see this projected in the theaters. Actually, that's the one thing I was thinking the whole time. It's just like I'd love to see this in the movies. Probably never will happen here, but
Well, you can make it happen.
well, yeah, with some money. I mean, not now. It's not happening now. I mean, maybe I can hit up AMC and say, hey, can I just rent your theater out for me? Like, it's just me, no friends, just me.
Yeah, just
Play what? Just play my
well,
Indian Blu-rays.
I feel like getting a print would be more difficult than like getting a place to screen it at. Because that's one of those films where you could potentially talk to USC and try to get a screening there if you were able to get RGB over here and do a panel type thing. Um, so that's part of it. But I would say cinematography wise, no, I'm with you on all that. That we've been watching enough of these films now to like you could tell the huge leap that's been. I mean, even early 2000s stuff that we've seen. Like what was the name of the SRK film where he goes to the village and he powers it? I can't remember the
Swadesh.
Swadesh. Yeah, like even that, like that was early 2000s, and you can tell like just like 4 years later the jump in technology with what cameras they started using and stuff. Like now they're using the same stuff they use in Hollywood. are pretty close. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can definitely see that. I wouldn't say for like the '80s. For me, it kind of felt like, I guess, like the early '90s. You know,
Well, I
what
mean,
felt like the '80s to me was,
I guess the best way to describe it, and maybe I said it
mm,
wrong. Maybe I didn't mean it that way. Not to cut you off, but just to clarify. I mean, like, it feels very period.
mm,
Like when you watch it,
mm,
you're like, this definitely happened in the past, and it
yeah,
definitely and it feels like it came from that period of time. Like it just feels like it. I was just
mm,
saying, like, it reminds me of older films because that's just what it is. That's just how the world works in terms of the film industry.
mm.
But yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, no, it felt like '90s. It felt gritty. It felt that way. It felt old. It felt like it needed to be that way. Because I don't know about some of the movies that come out today that are shot with like the red epic and 8K and shit. Like, how are you gonna look at that movie in 10 years? Is it gonna feel like you know what I mean? Like it makes it. Like I was thinking about that with The Irishman. Like it doesn't. That Irishman doesn't. It doesn't feel like an old movie to me. For me, because it's clean. It's very clean. I don't know. Anyway, not to make this about another movie, but
They're saying in the chat that your voice is echoing.
my voice is echoing.
That your voice is echoing. Yeah.
Okay, well you just keep talking and I'll fix it.
Okay.
Talk about direction.
Um, I was definitely, some of the shot selection was not my favorite. Where it kind of made things feel a little melodramatic. Some of the close-ups and whatnot, and I didn't necessarily agree with some of those. But that's an opinion there, but yeah, definitely direction-wise, there was some stuff that was cool, and then other stuff was like, you kind of, it's that line where you're like, oh yeah, now I'm seeing the budget here, and I don't know if that was because if it was, one of those things where that's the only thing they could use because there was only so much money and that's all they got for that day, or they didn't get enough coverage for whatever, like this is stuff that you and I have experienced as well. Like you got a limited amount of time, you grab what you think you need. And then after the fact, you look a week later at the dailies or whatever, when you're trying to put it together and you're like, oh man, we're really missing this shot right here. Would have loved to grab that shot. But usually, at the time, a lot of it's just could be that it's rushed. And this is just me, trying to relate to what happens. But overall, he did a really good job. And I could definitely see, I saw someone in the chat say that Kashyap wrote this film. And I can definitely see that I don't want to say definitely, but he and we're moving to script now, but he used quite a few elements of this film with Gangs of Wasseypur. It almost feels like Tarantino didn't get to direct True Romance, and if he were able to direct True Romance, he would most definitely expand upon upon what was made, and it'd be a new iteration that would be completely different. And I feel like it's the same thing with this one. I kind of felt like Kashyap got this script taken from him, and he's like, you know what, I need to do this again. And obviously, there's you jump through time with Gangs of Wasseypur. You start like the 1950s, and you jump all the way to modern times and stuff. So that's definitely not what was going on with this one. But I felt like a lot of stuff in here were like I didn't know that Kashyap wrote it, so I was like, wow, he took a lot of this for Gangs of Wasseypur. I felt,
Well, I mean, do you think that? I'm still fixing the mic, so just
bear with me.
I'll keep it short.
Do you feel
like I want to know what you mean by like close-ups. Like, what did you mean by that? Like, what were some of the things that bothered you about the close-ups?
They just felt like soap opera shots.
Yeah, what does that mean? Because to me that means high frame rate, like beauty shots.
No. It felt like he'd go to these close-up shots and he was trying to invoke a feeling from me, and the feeling I got was, wow, it took me out. It took me out to the point where I was like, this is kind of cheesy right now. And there were certain shot selections that he did that just took me out of the story while I was watching it. because of how it was framed, because it didn't feel natural when the other shots felt natural for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like it took me from I'm looking through my window like a voyeur, like I'm looking through my window and watching all this stuff unfolding on the street to, oh yeah, this is definitely a movie. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there where you're just so involved in the film that you forget that you're watching a movie,
So do you?
or you don't care that you're watching a movie.
So it So hurt your it hurt your
experience.
experience.
A little bit. Some of the shots, yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I like the movie overall. I'm not going to say that I didn't. That I
Well, I
disliked
mean,
it.
so do you feel like it? Do you feel like the close-ups ever helped at any point? Like, what about towards the end when it got? I feel like the end definitely got melodramatic. Like the fact that I liked it. I liked the way it ended. I liked the way that he went back to his neighbor, his girl's house, and was like, "I want to see you one more time before I die." And like, to me, that was melodramatic. Like,
Yes.
it was very Carlito's Way, or very like, very tragic, very, oh, we need to go back, and I need to, go back to my loved one, go back to get my lost trinket, like in Pulp Fiction, like it's tragic. But
Well, it was
I
it
liked it. I
was
liked it though for the
I
story part.
I see. I was going to bring that up, and I felt like Brian De Palma was definitely a heavy influence in this film because I saw a lot of stuff that reminded me of Scarface, and a lot of stuff that reminded me of Carlito's Way as well. Just that little like things I didn't understand, like that gangster beats the crap out of him at the restaurant, and then the next thing we see, he's in jail, and that's where he meets
Well,
Biku.
yeah. What do you mean? Because he gets blamed for basically they charge him with prostitution. So
Right.
the guy who gets beat up is running like not a strip joint, but he's running a
Yeah,
bar.
he got
And
set
then
up.
yeah, and so no,
Well,
he's
no,
just that's just the thing. So to like get him back, he went to the police station and basically gave him and said, "Hey, he's trafficking women," like, and that was just a way to like feed the system of like.
right, but I meant the reminder of Carlito's Way was Benny Blanco comes in and Sean Penn's character takes his girl. Benny Blanco wants to kill Sean Penn. Carlito goes over with Pachanga and says, hey, tries to resolve the situation. Benny Blanco mouths off, and then Carlito beats the fuck out of him and throws him down a staircase, but lets him live. And it was the same thing I saw here. I was like, oh, you're going to let this dude live. This is going to end up biting you in the ass. The same kind of setup there. That's what I meant by
Except it kind of didn't really bite him in the ass because the guy ends up shooting him in the back of the head as soon as he gets out of jail.
What are you talking about?
Our lead character kills the guy.
No,
who
no,
throws
no, no,
him
no,
in
no, no,
jail.
no. The gangster that gets him thrown in jail is Carlito in this instance. Where
Oh,
instead of
okay.
killing dude where he should have killed, and I was like, why didn't he kill this guy? That kind of like, obviously if he killed him, the movie would be over. But that's kind of I was looking at it like, okay, you didn't kill this guy, and then you knew right off the bat because I was already feeling elements of Carlito's Way and Scarface. Like, all right, well, this isn't gonna go end well for this dude for not taking him out right then and there. Stuff like that, and then the end just reminded me of Heat. The end was
Yeah,
like
very.
instead of leaving, he had to go and get his revenge.
Heat was the movie I was thinking about with De Niro, and then but yeah, that was another movie you can. But I liked pretty much
No,
everything
I like that
minus.
I like that it didn't end. It wasn't a happy ending. I like that. Like I was like because we've seen other gangster films from Indian like Hindi gangster films where the guy has he's got a good heart and he doesn't end up getting his just desserts. He ends up everything kind of works out in the end. Maybe not completely, but this one it was like the guy had to die. He had to pay for his sins eventually, and he did. And he did it in an epic fashion as well. Like I loved
I
like
mean, he didn't have to die. He could have left.
well, he didn't he had to die for the
But
story
he
that
was a
like
romantic. That's why I don't know. I liked it. I did.
yeah.
I like. It's weird that the.
I like agreeing with you.
No, I know. I know you're not. I'm just saying. Like I found the music to be distracting at first, but then by the end I was like okay with it. But I don't think I would enjoy the music the second go around because there was no fucking subtitles in the print that we watched. So I didn't know what they were saying. Thankfully, there was a website that I was able to like read the song lyrics. Visually, you can kind of get a an idea of what's going on. But yeah, that'd be the only thing for me. Just because the music placement also kind of felt off too. It just felt like I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird rhythm. That's the only way I can describe it. It was a weird rhythm, or there really wasn't a rhythm, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, but I think the movie definitely changed, just completely just shifted after the intermission. Like it was all about our lead, and then Manoj Bajpayee's character, and then obviously the film shift focus. But I was really, really, really enjoying that first part. Like I thought Manoj was great. I actually thought the lead actor was pretty good as well, just because he wasn't saying very much, and everything he did in the beginning was like everything that Southern films try to do with their action stars, but fail for me because they try to have them do those same exact actions of like I'm gonna be a tough guy, but then like they'll even Salman Khan movies, whatever, they'll add in an extra shot where it's like, but I have to have a love angle, like the stuff he was doing at the beginning, where like the dude he was living in his like shitty apartment, whatever, and then the guy was like, "Pay me, just fuck you, pay me." Like you're basically gonna pay me just because I'm telling you, like, what's your name? You're gonna pay me for that, like that whole interaction. If that was a fucking Southern film, the scene would have taken place very similarly, but then there'd be like a love angle, like the girl involved would be there or some shit, and then you'd have like this fucking like just this scene like in Boggy 3. I'm thinking about, you didn't see this, but because of Corona, but same shit. It's like same shit. It's the same fucking thing. And this, it was like, don't fuck with me, and then that's it. And then we go to another scene, and he doesn't talk very much at all. And I like that because now I'm seeing he's making the decision to be quiet. Those are decisions. Those are all like decisions to not say anything or speak. So when he does speak up, when he does decide to act out, it adds more weight. Like when the fucking dude's the politician's messing with him, not the politician, but the guy who puts him in jail, putting his feet in his face and all that shit. When he finally snaps, and when he finally does snap, it's because he hadn't really done anything this whole time. I mean, yeah, he sliced that guy's face, but like he didn't go after them. He wasn't trying to like mess with them. So I bought it. And that's kind of the thing that I enjoyed the most, is I bought most of the stuff that was going on. Even the brother double crossing at the end where Minaj gets shot, like you kind of were seeing that coming. And it was like weird where I was like, oh, the brother's like good with him now. Like it just, I'm like, okay, maybe all right, I'll buy it. I bought it just enough to when they go to have dinner and he's like, no, I insist. I want to make you the drink to celebrate. I'm like, oh man, this is about to be bad. You know, our lead isn't there. He's out of the room. He's not even in the fucking thing at all. Like, and then boom, gets popped, and then it's like, oh, okay.
That was a good I was good execution in the way of framing and just following him up the street while he's like, it was cliche in a good way. We know, like in gangster films, whenever you see that kind of shot, whenever you see the guy kind of walking through and talking to everybody and he's separated from the lead, you know something bad's going to happen.
But they were all in the same room, though. That's what that's what I enjoyed the most about it. There was no major separation. He literally kind of just turned around to go, like, to make the drink.
No, that's not what I mean. I talk about, we see him hopping out of the car and walking through the street because they're celebrating that the guy won the election. So
to build that, like, oh, everything's cool.
Yeah, BQ's walking up, but you, like, from the second he hopped out of that, like, I was half expecting him to get shot by someone with the firecrackers, like using the firecrackers as a distraction. I was expecting that to happen, but
it was a very horror trope where, or that's what I would define it as, where you think it's coming, and then it doesn't come, and then when you think it's gonna happen again, it doesn't come, and then finally it happens like 3 times, and you're like, oh, it's fine, nothing's happening, and then it happens.
Right, exactly. Right, and but you had that feeling. For me, I had that feeling of something bad is going to happen now as he was walking through the street because he was in too good of a mood. His defenses were down. Like all these little things were adding to the scene because it was like, okay, he's walking into something completely unexpected. He has like no clue. I half thought fat dude Uncle Salu or Uncle Kalu, I guess his name was. I thought he was in on it as well because he was already there chilling.
No, and then he ended up being a savior and then getting fucking whacked for it as well.
Whacked for somebody else's broad.
And he didn't even want to be there either. He wasn't even supposed to work that day.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be there. No, not at all.
I did like the climax, though, where he did take out the uncle at that huge festival and stabbed him in the water and like.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, that was awesome. Like straight up, I thought he had a gun wrapped up in his hand, and
straight up Godfather 2. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just jammed it in there and kept stabbing him like he was like straight up prison stabbing. Who knows how many times how many holes he put in that dude.
Well, that's why I wanted you to see Vadashanai because it's reminded me. Well, not now. I can't say that because I didn't see Satya before that. But watching this made me want you to watch Vadashanai more because I want to see. I want you to see what it's because it's kind of similar, but it just takes place in a different part of India. Keep going. Sorry, I thought I was cutting you off.
Oh no, that's fine. So you brought up that our lead Satya barely talks. He talks when he wants to, and then that lack of dialogue kind of gives him this intensity, and you kind of it lets the guy act. He's not telling us; he's showing us. But at the same time, we get to a certain point where the whole romance angle that comes to its climax towards the end when he says that he wants to get out of the business, or he doesn't say he wants to get out of the business. He just starts feeling he feels bad for the innocent people that they're dying because he's fallen in love. But there was a certain point where, yeah, he was a man of mystery throughout the whole film, but I kind of wanted a little more backstory because not necessarily because I needed to know his whole life story, but because the decisions he was making and the way he elevated himself in the company and the way he elevated Bhikkhu as a gangster, like, where did this come from? You know what I mean? Like,
according to Wikipedia, he RGV read The Fountainhead during the process of this, and in The Fountainhead, that the Rand book, you know who I'm talking about, libertarian writer, the woman.
Yeah.
The movie's about the ideal man, and so he represents the ideal man in the movie. That's why he's like kind of just like prototypical. Doesn't really like when I didn't read that until afterwards when I was reading about the movie, but it makes sense because the whole time I was thinking of myself as like, oh, they're purposefully not putting a lot of character traits and backstory and things like that because it's not exactly about him.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is about him. He's the lead character. You experiencing everything through him, but really, it's kind of like it's really about you.
Named after him.
Well, the movie's named about it, yes, or it could be named Truth because that's what Satya stands for. That's what it means is truth. So it could be a double meaning there too. Personally, what I think is like he's kind of like the eyes in which we experience the movie in, but we're kind of just supposed to embody him. And like the less characteristics you attribute to that, the more we can project. That's how I viewed it. So when I saw like the inspiration behind it, I'm like, oh, it kind of makes sense because they line up. Like his behaviors, his actions kind of line up. Don't really take shit from people. It's about me, like, because that's kind of what he's doing, or elevating my company or my group, or like. But it's a little conflicting because Rand's message is more like against altruism and more about more stays away from collectivism and more towards like building up your individualist self. and that's kind of not what he's doing in this movie. So like, I was kind of confused, but it kind of made sense though, just in terms of just very like cookie cutter. I don't know, because it was like tough guy cookie cutter. You just believed it
to a
because,
certain extent, but it was like the man with no, from nowhere. He shows up,
Clint Eastwood.
mysteriously.
Clint Eastwood.
But Clint Eastwood, he has a build up to what he does. You know what I
Not
mean?
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, that's the worst one. I'm talking about a fistful of dollars.
He plays the same character. That's the same guy throughout all of them.
Yeah, but you already get.
I'm just saying they're not fleshed out. Is what I guess my whole point.
But you get enough to know who this guy is and what he's about and why he does what he does. With this movie, I never fully get that feeling. I guess that's my issue. Is like I never fully get why he did what he did or why he knows what he knows. Like not even a little tidbit, like not even a little rumor that there was a guy in another city that did the same thing, Like why did he even show up in Mumbai? Like we don't know. Was he in prison before? He just kind of shows up at this guy's house. The guy's like, okay, it's going to cost me 20 rupees a day to sleep in the barn.
He didn't take shit from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then because he didn't take shit from anyone, and when he got himself in jail, he got in front of the right people. So it could just be an accident, really. I mean, you could attribute it to an accident. Just someone not being willing to succumb to like that type of shit, And maybe it would have helped, but maybe not. I see where you're coming from, though. Maybe he came from a specific part. And maybe it was in the dialogue, and I'm completely forgetting now. Maybe it was like a one line here or there, like where. But I do get your point about how it's like not clear. But by the end of the movie, do you think it would really change like? What would have it changed for you throughout the movie? Like, what did you feel weakened by not knowing that?
I just think it at a certain point, it prevents. It goes right back to what I said with the close up shots. It took me out a little bit. Because it was like, hey, this guy's a little too smart. He seems to know all the angles and the strategy a little too well. Like even something little like, I don't know if he's lying when he tells Homegirl that he's an orphan, or if that was just him like making up a lie because he didn't want to tell her that he was a gangster.
I thought he was an orphan. I believed it.
So, but something like that, he just mentioning, like they kept on asking him about his family life, and he would just kind of ignore that storyline. But just mentioning something that maybe he was in the military or something, like he was an ex-military guy.
I mean, he wasn't kicking people's ass. Let's be honest here. He wasn't like.
It wasn't about.
He was an action star. He wasn't acting like.
It wasn't that. It was the strategy of like he was Biku's right hand man. And it was like, you can't do this because this, that, and the other. Like the thought process behind everything. Because it wasn't like he was.
Was it really that way, though? Because to me, it felt like, oh, no, we just kill him. That was like, it almost seemed like this. Like, oh, why are we taking shit from, like, why even bother? Why ask? Just kill him. Just get rid of it.
It wasn't like, let's just kill him. It was the reasoning behind the let's just kill him. Every single time. He gave a reason. He was able to sell why they should kill this next person. To Biku, it wasn't just irrational, like, I'm bloodthirsty. I want to see people die type shit. It was more along the lines of, there was a thought process, a philosophy behind.
But at the end of the way, did he really win? Is he really that smart if he died? Like, are you really a winner if your whole like crime syndicate is only last 3 or 4 years? And yeah, you made it to the top, but then you got fucking wrecked for it.
Why did he die? He died because of love.
No, well, I mean, technically, you could make an argument that he died because his friend was like, if you do this, you're all gonna fucking die, and then they literally all died. Everyone involved died.
There was that line as well, but that was the lawyer guy. That was
the lawyer guy. And they all died. They all died.
Everybody died. Absolutely, everybody died. Like anybody involved in this.
Except the one dude with the long hair. He didn't die. He was the one guy who didn't.
Yeah, who starts the film off, and then that was kind of weird too. Like, what's that guy gonna do?
He's like crying and fucking. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Well, he's the one guy who didn't die.
And he doesn't smile the whole time. And he shoots the fucking newspaper.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I hope he lives on the first floor and
Yeah.
he's not shooting down. Um, but I mean, I like the violence of the movie. I like the way it was shot. I like the practical effects, of everything. They were really using the blanks when they needed to. It was set up right. Just I enjoyed costumes and set design. Like the one thing I love about Indian films that it's been 100% solidified. It's almost very similar to like Mexican homes, where some Mexican homes, and maybe I'm sure this is other like Hispanic cultures, but like because they're painting their walls green or fucking pink or like colors, everything pops so much more because you have a green a wall, and then the character's wearing a yellow shirt or whatever, and it's complimentary, and it just looks boom. I mean, you can see why Wes Anderson loves Indian films so fucking much, because he basically just steals their palettes and he just puts them in his movies. I mean, that's literally why people. I mean, obviously his symmetrical framing and his quirky stories and stuff like that, but it's that which I just every time, because it's cheap, inexpensive production value, because that's just what the homes look like. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're painting them for the movies. I don't know. I've never been there, but I would assume, based on the Mexican homes that I've seen, because like I don't know about you, but when I go into a house and like I see the fucking walls are pink, I'm like, why would you do this? But if you're shooting a movie, shit, pink walls are great depending on like what how you can utilize it.
Right.
I don't know. That's just something that because it could be for anything too. It doesn't have to be the houses. It's just they're shooting in huge, lush green backdrops, and the characters are wearing huge, flamboyant yellow things, and it just I love that stuff. Even on gritty gangster movies, you still have shit like that, which I like. And it's never distracting though. It never feels like a Wes Anderson. It just feels like that's what it is.
It doesn't feel what's the word I'm looking for?
Forced?
Oh, this is another word for, we'll go with forced. There's another word I'm looking for, but my vocabulary is failing me at this hour. But definitely that. Yeah. Like it's not it's natural.
Natural's a good one.
Yeah, it's this color palette is a natural thing that that we're expecting now. That's a cultural thing versus hey, I'm going to throw these colors out there just to go.
Well,
along.
I mean, that's literally what people's jobs are. I mean, but I'm just saying that it feels more natural.
No, but it's a style. It's a style as well. Like you said with Wes Anderson, he's got a style, and we know his style. That's
we could break down every movie that does it. I'm just saying that by virtue of their homes, it's like a built-in production value.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm telling you that's what makes it natural, because their homes, the homes are colored like that already. It makes it feel.
Okay, I thought you were trying to say. I thought you were saying that I said only Wes Anderson does it.
No.
Anyone with money does it, but when you have no money to paint a wall is usually not in your budget. So like if you can already have that, you're golden.
Yeah.
That's all I meant.
When it's not jarring for the people that live there either.
No, right, exactly. Which is how it's, like you said, natural. Just like, what do you feel like if this movie were made in 2020? Do you feel like anything would have been omitted or cut out, like been too much, too extreme, too like politically incorrect? I'm not saying there is. I'm just genuinely asking. Like, if this movie came out in 2020,
it depends on where it was filmed. I think. The shootout with Guru, where they run through like a playground,
and they're shooting around the fucking kids.
Yeah, like I think maybe that because we're so sensitive with shit, like that scene might not fly.
I don't know about India. I'm just yeah. I hear you though. That one was.
I mean, here I meant here, like in the U.S., like that wouldn't get past the censor boards.
No, I'm talking about India. Like, do you think there'd be any objections? Because I'm asking because when Kabir Singh came out, which is basically just Arjun Reddy, he's just another angry young guy. I'm not saying this guy's an angry young guy, but I'm just curious, like, because the underworld, the crime world kind of went away in India. It's not like the same as it was in the 90s. that was like the hot spot. That was like the golden years, and now it's not the same. So, I don't even know how you would do a gangster movie today, but just that character. And then, do you feel like this movie holds up today?
I mean, it definitely holds up. It's just,
Besides the fact that it's Indian and that that's not.
no, but it's just the story is good enough where you can look past the grainy film. You can look past the audio, being old school audio and stuff like that. Like I feel like that's always the key to everything. Like the old movies that people still watch are because the story still stands up.
But I'm saying, does it so just as a film though it still hold like you?
Yeah, like it's something I would watch again. Potentially, I wouldn't like go out of my way to watch it again. But if it's along the lines of, if I'm at home and I have cable, which I don't, like either of those things exist in my life, well, being home obviously does, but it's one of those movies where if it comes on TNT, like the movie of the week,
Indian INT.
Well, I'm just using that as an example.
I know.
Yeah, like there's always that movie that comes on because it's cheap for them to get the rights to screen it, and they need filler material. There's always a bunch of movies that if it popped on and I was at home,
What could you pull from this movie to like? Is there something about this movie that you saw and you're like, oh, I could incorporate. I like the way they did this. I'd incorporate this, or I'd want to revisit this scene. Like, what was one thing that stood out to you when you were?
I'm gonna say no.
No, I didn't ask if you could pull. I said, what is one thing that stood out for you?
Well, here's the problem. The problem I have with this film is that I watched Gangs of Wasseypur first. And a lot of what I remember seeing in Gangs of Wasseypur, I'm seeing in this film. So had I seen it the other way around, I think my opinion would be a little different on it, like scenes that I would pull from it. But I just, like I said before, I feel like this is Kashyap's film, but he wasn't allowed to direct it. So he made Gangs of Wasseypur. And
see, I'd actually argue that the more your exposure is so limited to basically Gangs of Wasseypur and Company that it feels like that. But if you were to revisit other narratives that visit, like that, basically the 90s in Mumbai, like this story it's different. I hear what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but like just watching Sacred Games, again, you start to see more criminal things going on, and so all of a sudden each narrative does feel a little bit more unique to itself, because you start to see like, oh, there's actually a lot going on here. There's actually, the movie's a little bit more layered than, I'm not saying that you didn't see that. I'm just saying, like, for me, as I was watching, because I watched the Shootout films. I watched, like it says, like Fatishanai, which is not in Mumbai, but I'm just saying it's a gangster movie. Then the Sacred Games, you have, as you mentioned, gangs, but then you also have like a lot more movies that deal with, because you can go into just like Hindu Muslim. Like there's all these little things that they kind of do pop its head up, not in this film in particular, but in other films that kind of give you a different perspective. It's like watching a historical movie and all about the figure being talked about. Like if you watch Abraham Lincoln or the Lincoln movie with Spielberg and you research the guy and you know about him, I'm sure there's like tons of little subtleties that like whoever wrote the screenplay, was it Kushner, whoever wrote the screenplay, like probably studied and like made sure that like, oh, Lincoln would say this because it's referring to this little thing. And if like the biggest Lincoln nerds are going to know that like this is subtext for this other crap, right? And so I think by just putting more information, that, because I hear you, but I don't think it's that way, to be honest.
Well, it's not what you asked me.
No, I asked if you could pull one thing, and you said no. And I'm just saying I don't think it's Kashyap's movie. I think if you were to watch more RGV movies, you would see that it's more. It just is. This is actually kind of more of his style than anything.
Right, but
that's
But
why I always said
he's
that
also Kashyap's mentor. So there's obviously an influence there.
right, which is why I'm saying that I think it's I don't know. I think saying it's Tarantino with True Romance is giving Kashyap too much credit. Is the best way to describe
Well, but Tarantino didn't remake True Romance, so we don't know.
Well, no. My argument would be that RGV didn't buy the script from Kashyap. Like Tony Scott bought the script from Tarantino. The script was already done. Kashyap was kind of just like RGV's, not a puppet, but like a writer for hire.
I mean, the True Romance. The reason why Tarantino didn't make it was because it was a trade. Like, we'll give you, if you give us True Romance, we'll let you make Reservoir Dogs. Right? That's the story behind that.
Well, no, my point is the script was done, regardless of how it was acquired. Like, it came from Tarantino's mind. It was done. Like, it was his.
Right.
Kashyap, this wasn't his script that he like presented to RGV, because he wasn't the only writer on it either. RGV wasn't even considered a writer. There's actually 2 screenwriters. I don't know the other person's name, but I don't know who was there. And to be honest with you, neither you or I really know how this movie was actually shot.
Right.
I don't. You and I have never been on an Indian production to know like how strict are they to the script. Is it like is this type of movie made during this time so low budget that they didn't have time to like fucking really do, like they just figured some shit out in the moment and just like, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I hear you. I think it's a little bit slightly unfair, because I think for me it feels like you're taking away credit.
No.
Well, I mean, the director.
I gave you a qualifier. Right? The qualifier was we watched Gangs of Wasseypur first, and I see a lot of similarities between Gangs of Wasseypur and this. Even though this came out, 10 years or almost 10 years before Gangs of Wasseypur, I still saw Gangs of Wasseypur first. So in my head, when I'm watching this movie, I'm picking out all these things that reminded me of Gangs of Wasseypur. That's not taking credit away from RGV. If anything, it's kind of giving RGV credit, because Kashyap was on his set, and then he saw a lot of shit. Oh, okay, and then kind of took it. And I'm just, like I said, I didn't even know he had anything to do with the script until somebody mentioned it in the comment section. And now that I know, it's like now I'm kind of connecting the dots in my own head, and I could be completely fucking wrong. But it's not taking anything away from RGV whatsoever. I'm just saying, because I watched Gangs of Wasseypur first, I watch this and I see a lot of stuff that I feel is similar. And also, it's been like 3 years now since we've seen Gangs of Wasseypur as well. So I could be, my memory could be like making shit up that's not fucking true. You know what I mean?
Are you saying every Indian gangster movie is the same? Are you saying they all look the same? Is that why?
I mean, we can make the argument that every gangster film is pretty much the same. Just some are just better than others. Regardless of what country it takes place in.
Have you been following the chat? Because we've been chatting for about an hour now. So I don't know if there's any chats any questions people have been having for this, or in the comments for the post that you posted, if there was any questions that.
Hey, you guys need to do a better job of following on Instagram, guys. Like, I'm putting in all this IG work, and you guys don't give a shit. Let's see if we got anything on the community page.
In the meantime, I can tell you that I enjoyed the dialogue scenes in the movie. I mean, while you look those up, and specifically like towards the beginning, like the restaurants, just the way it was covered, because I've been watching other 90s films, Indian 90s films lately, and just the way that they would cover basic coverage, I just don't really care for.
Mm-hmm.
This one felt right. I just felt like I was always in the conversation. I was always involved, like just sitting in between these characters, literally like just with my head on a swivel sometimes, and I enjoy that. Like, despite the fact that I brought up Irishman and saying it didn't feel right, but there's scenes in the Irishman, especially like the improv dinner, like the lunch scene. I'm late. Like, I felt like I was in the room with those guys. Like, I didn't feel like threatened or whatever, but I felt like I was right there, and it just felt like it was going. And that's I really, and it's just by the virtue of the way it's shot, because you have reaction shots that fit. You had performances that fit. You allowed like certain characters were allowed to kind of breathe and sit there, like when the two friends are just sitting out there drunk and they're having their conversation, and like fucking one dude just passes out, and like, but they're talking about politics, and it was just a nice way. Like, those moments I felt was very like Kashyap. Like, those are the moments I would attribute to him over like RGV, because we've seen it in like Gangs of Wasseypur, where it's like we got to interject like this political angle to it to add a message to it, to make this more than just about camaraderie, about two guys getting drunk. Like, we have it about like, whatever. Do you find anything?
No, nobody really responded to the community page. I mean, Cersei Psycho definitely contributed a lot and kind of talked shit to us about it.
What else is there?
Right. Let's see.
Yeah, nothing.
If this wasn't live, guys, this would all get cut out, and
that's okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Kajan was in here.
Yeah, no, I tagged him on Facebook to come on.
Talk shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sir Psycho, let us know in the comment section what you feel about this film, because I'm like, yesterday he was like, interest level at its pinnacle equals 4 comments in 2 hours. Nice, great going. Like, I don't know if he's talking shit or if he's upset.
Oh, that's definitely talking shit, but not just, I don't know about to us, but to
no, it was like, yeah, like, because
hey man, it is what it is. We didn't make this movie. This movie's 22 years old, so it's not like I was expecting much to just like come out the gate like, what? This is the largest stream ever. We have 1,000 people fucking just waiting to hear us talk about this 22-year-old movie.
That'll be the dame.
That doesn't feature a Khan, like the SRK isn't in, or fucking Amir Khan or some shit. Like, it will be the day.
Yeah. I mean, and it's cool. Like, let's talk about Manoj Bajpayee and his performance. Like, that's another one. Like, I saw right off the bat. Like, okay, now I feel like this movie is why Kashyap wanted to use him as the first half bad guy, or the first half, not the first half bad guy, but the first half.
Don't forget he was also in. Don't forget Manoj was in another RGV film where he was like it was like the movie with De Niro. Well, it felt like that. I forget what it's called. Count or something. I don't know. It starts with a K. Where he's like, what De Niro and Julia, not Julia. Fuck, what's her name? The little girl. Where De Niro looks out of prison. It's a remake. I don't know. Scorsese movie. Cape Fear with Nick Nolte. Yeah. He's playing. Well, Manoj played like another creep like that, or at least that's what the trailer looked like, and that was also written by Kashyap. So I can kind of believe that too.
Was that the one where somebody kind of made their own trailer for us?
Yeah, Sinister made it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's how it is.
Well, what did you like about his performance? Did you like it? Did you not? You brought it up.
No, I thought it was great. No, he was very good. Like, I could see, like I said, I could see why they would want to use him.
He was very Bahubali.
What do you mean by that?
He looked like fucking Prabhas in the film.
What?
He did. I thought he did.
No.
He did. I thought he did. With his like, he kind of had
feel free to call Daniel a racist in the comment section, guys.
He kind of had like that 5 o'clock shadow. I don't know. Maybe it was my TV. He also looked a little darker too than normal, so their skin tones kind of were a little bit similar in complexion. I could be wrong.
Were you watching on like a tube, like a?
Yeah, I had my saturation all messed up. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's. I liked his performance. I thought he was very natural. I believed him,
Yeah.
even though his certain moments were clearly inspired by other roles of similar nature. I still it still felt fresh enough where I believed that this was that guy. Like the one in jail when they're beating each other up and stuff, and then he smiles and laughs. Like that's a trope. Like we all have seen that before, but that's also real too. So like the fact that he was able to do it convincingly enough, and that the fights didn't look shitty either. I mean, the sound effects, whatever, but you buy it. Like I bought it. I went with it. Like when he got mad and he threw that table over in the very beginning, I liked that prison little scene. But to me, that was like very like American Me, or like any of these other gangster movies. Like it reminded me specifically actually of American History X, which came out like 2 years before this movie. So like it's not necessarily a racial movie, but I just rewatched that movie very recently, and like the prison scenes are very much like that, where it's like, oh, I gotta fucking stand my ground, I'm not take no shit from nobody, whatever. Because that's what Edward Norton does. As soon as he gets to prison, he fucking takes his shirt off so everyone can see his like Swazi big old swastika on his chest. He's working out, and then that's like sending the signals and stuff. And it's kind of like that. I mean, this guy
He
wasn't
also needed to get his back up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's different. It's not the same, but like I'm just talking about the way it was shot, the way it was presented.
Right.
But I liked Minaj's character. I liked his relationship with his wife. Like I thought that was funny. Those scenes when they were at dinner, or they're talking shit to one another, or like one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie was actually when they're out. He gets out of prison and they go out partying. Like Minaj and the lead go out partying, and then he comes back, and then his wife is like yelling at him and like going crazy, and she's like, calm down, and then he slapped her in the face, and it's like serious, right? And then he tells him like, you need to go home, we're about to start World War III or whatever he says. Like he says some joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like it's one take, and you're just watching him, and then you kind of see her like kind of, I don't know if succumb to him is the right word, but it just felt like the performances just felt like, okay, this is a couple that's been together for X amount of years. And I'm not saying that that's appropriate, but I'm just saying it's appropriate for them. Like these
Right.
two people felt like that was his way of telling her to shut the fuck up. But I love you and everything. I don't know. It just felt right. That's why I was kind of sad that there was never after they shoot him, you never get to see what the wife, how she reacts to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was that, and it was also because, I mean, that same night is when the cops go and try to get Satya. Like all that. I took that as that
pretty quick.
Yeah, like it all transpired that same night. They shoot him, and then like the cops go after Satya. Satya escapes. He makes it back to Uncle Kalu's place where he's waiting for him with the gun, and then they kill the lawyer. Like I feel like all that happens within that same night. So there's no time to go check in with the wife, because normally what would happen was Satya would go and console the wife, whatever, and tell her he's going to take care of her and so on and so forth. But the end happened so quickly, it was so like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say it was like a like crazy pace where you're like kind of overwhelmed.
There was actually there was a lot of time between those, but their lives changed.
It's like there was like 12 minutes left in the film.
No, when Minaj dies, no, I don't think so. I think you have a good amount of time. Not like an hour, but like I don't think it was that quick. Maybe I'm wrong, because I feel like just the whole sequence at the very end with the breaking the door down is at least five minutes, plus the whole shit at the big ceremony is at least 10. Maybe you're right. I don't know, but I feel like it was before that, because I feel like there was other dialogue scenes like before all that happened. But I don't know. Either way, it does happen towards the end. I'm just saying I missed that. Like that's something I missed. Like I just wish, because I liked the girl, I liked the character, I liked the wife, I I liked her joking nature. I liked how they all kind of went to dinner. I liked those scenes. Those are the scenes I enjoyed as well. Like that's what I mentioned earlier about the dialogue scenes. Like those scenes to build character, to like sit down and let the story breathe, let these characters breathe, let me care for them a little bit. Even at the end, the guy was kind of growing up. Like our lead character, he was talking a little bit more. They went to Sweden or whatever. Like he was getting out of his shell. Like so that's why by the end when he was like, oh, I need to go back for her, like. It was actually the inverse of Heat, actually. That's why it wasn't. That's why, because I liked Heat because he doesn't go back, because Robert De Niro's character is very much like, I'm not don't get attached to anything you can't leave in 30 seconds, and he sticks to that to the very end, and that's what ultimately kills him. But in this one, he does the reverse.
He's also a man of his word though, because that's the reason why he dies in Heat is because he goes against that principle. You know what I mean? Like, he had a chance to leave and he didn't because he let his pride get the best of him. Whereas,
right,
you know, and that's why he dies. And I feel like this is the same thing here. Like, he could have escaped, but he needed to get revenge. It was, I hate to bring it back to Gangs of Wasseypur, it was kind of the same thing.
He didn't need to get revenge. He just wanted to see her one more time.
No.
He wanted her to come with her, and then...
No, he needed to get revenge on the politician. He didn't have to go and kill the politician.
No, not that. I'm saying but after you killed him, him and the bald dude, who's the other writer in the movie, by the way, like in real life, he makes her stop at gunpoint. He makes him stop at gunpoint and says, "No, drive me to her fucking place."
I read that scene differently. I read that scene as he was shot and he knew he was going to die. So
probably that too. I definitely added that
and
angle.
that's why he wanted to go and see her, because he knew he was dead.
Yeah, but the other dude wanted to send him off to fucking Dubai. He wanted to put him on a boat right then and there.
Right. Other guy didn't know how wounded he was either, though. You know, it was one of those things where, like, you see him kind of fading, and then, like, to add on to it, going up the staircase, how hard it was for him to go up to the stair.
I agree with you. Yeah, I'm just saying that the motivation, the fat guy definitely wanted him out. And that's why he waited for him, too, at the bottom of the stairs. And then he ended up getting blasted by the other cop. Like, other cop just straight up's like, "Hey, I know you." Bam, bam, bam. Like, fuck, dude. Right in front of that old lady and shit.
It was a little disappointing. And I mean, this is real life shit, I'm sure. But that the cop who, like, decided to try to get Satya at the movie theater, you know.
Oh, I like that scene too.
And that he got just verbally reprimanded. I was expecting him to, like, get fired, but no, he was there.
No, this is the Indian police force. Let's not. Come on now. I think if there's one assertion that we can safely attribute to India based on the movies we watched, it's that the fucking police force is a little corrupt. I mean, just like ours, but I feel like it's worse. Because fucking, it feels like every movie that I watch, there's always like some sort of, like in Khaki. You didn't see this movie? Actually, I think you should. I think this, if there was a poll or a vote, this should be the one with Big B and Akshay Kumar. It's actually a really good movie. But there's, in the very beginning, one of the cops is like, he's pulled some guy over and he's just like, hands him 100, and he's like, "Oh wait, did the rates change? Like, what is this? Like, what is going on?" And like another cop comes, and then he gets fried. Like, it's just, and that's not the first time we've seen this. Like, this happens for everything. I don't know.
It seems to be a common thing. It's like the way things were with gangsters here, you know, back in the day, and I feel like that's kind of gone away because of Serpico. Who knows? I'm sure there's still guys on the take, but I feel like American cops are more about protecting each other rather than like making friends with gangsters and stuff like that. Where this is like, from the films that we see, it kind of seems like, oh, just pay me enough money and I'll do whatever the fuck you want me to.
Well, I'm just saying that there's certain countries that have a stigma of corruption attached to them.
Yeah.
And I can now say that India is probably one of them. Like Mexico with the federales and shit. Like, you kind of just know, like, you throw enough money out there.
bro. They're kindred spirits.
They fucking. We'll talk about this on another thing, but yeah, I really think that Mexican lineage is when we came over the fucking Bering Strait and down into the north. I think Mexicans came from like the Indian path. I really do believe that. Just culturally, it's just too fucking like. There's a lot of fucking. I mean, obviously Hindus, like, it's not in any of like
The religion is
religious
different.
act. Yeah, but like, just in terms of the things we do and like, there's similarities. Maybe it's just the drums and the Mexican music. That's my only fucking thing. Like the drums.
Oh man. Well, anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for us. Real quick, guys, I'll give you guys got 5 minutes to throw any questions that you want at us about this review. Also, I think Rickon asked about doing a poll for the options we have for our next review. And,
yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
More than happy to put a poll up in the community section. You guys just have to take advantage of it, man.
Polls are the one thing that people do very consistently. Polls are because they see it when they're scrolling and they're like, oh, I like this one, and then they keep going. Which is why no one follows the rules, because they just like, oh, pick one, keep going. Because I do the same shit too. I understand. But polls work. Everything else, good luck.
Munmun Hazarika asks Al Pacino or De Niro. I'm gonna go with De Niro just because the last 20 years of Al Pacino has just been fucking awful. You know, he's great in The Irishman, but he's just done he's done so much bad shit that he's like, that people are doing they're doing imitations of him now, because he's like, it's pretty much the same character in every film.
I look at it differently. I look at it as it's probably the past 20 years plus, not 10. But if you look at his theatrical,
I said 20 years.
Oh, I thought you said 10 years. My bad.
No,
but if you look at his theatrical like catalog over the last 20 years, it outweighs the things he's doing. I think he's reached an age where he just wants to just act. Like if it's a theater show, like whatever, he kind of just doesn't give a shit like that anymore. I mean, no cocaine, no any of this shit that he used to do all the time. Like, it probably changes everything for you, or apparently being a cheapskate because his wife or whoever he's with broke up with him because he was a cheapskate, something like that.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
My mom was telling me about that. But De Niro for me too. Although you can really make comparisons of like they're each other's great movies, and like on any given day you might choose a Pacino movie over a De Niro movie depending on your mood. Like, it's not like they're in their primes. They were fucking good. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. I'm just going back to like after Donnie Brasco. That's when shit starts getting a little shaky. I mean, he's got a couple of things to pay. Like, I'm not a Devil's Advocate fan, but
I like Devil's Advocate. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of that one. And then you just kind of start going down this road of he hasn't done as many movies. I feel like De Niro's done actually more movies.
He has. That's what I'm saying. More theatrical stuff. Do you think Disney Plus is worth it, Gian? I can't answer it. I don't have Disney Plus.
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I don't. Okay, let me qualify that for you guys.
You have a child.
The problem, it has nothing to do with it. The problem that people seem to have with Disney Plus is what connection they still have to their childhood, or if they want to. And it seems like the people that are like anti-Disney Plus are people that either didn't grow up watching Disney films, like, because there's definitely families out there who are like, Disney's, they didn't want their kids watching Disney because the cartoons had a certain level of cheesiness to them, for sure, because they're made for children. But I don't know. I feel like there's so much stuff, and they keep on putting more and more stuff. Now they got the Fox catalog, so you're getting all these older Fox movies as well. And there's just a lot of good classic movies on there, and it hits you in the feels every time you watch it.
I think I finally figured out why like certain things are not like I don't care for Disney Plus. It's because as of this moment, I'm not a guy who goes on Netflix and watches movies that I own, or watches like old movies that I've seen before. I'd say 9 times out of 10 I'm watching something I've never seen before, and that's all I care about. Like, I don't care about watching, like, if I like maybe this will change, but like I just saw The Social Network is on Netflix. I love that movie. Haven't seen it in a very long time. I might rewatch that. But there's other movies that that I'll come across and I'll see, and they're like old or whatever. Let's just say Goodfellas. I own that movie. I'm not going to watch it on Netflix. I might throw the DVD in or the Blu-ray, whatever. But it's also a movie I've seen before, so I don't really care to watch it again. And so, like, I've seen the Disney movies so many damn times that it's like I don't really have a desire to see them because they're not new. Like, but when WandaVision and these shows like actually start to come out more consistently on a monthly basis, you're getting a new fucking like. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Now the other stuff's like additional stuff. To me, it's a new content.
But I kind of also feel like there's a lot of with Disney the classic cartoons were not things unless your family went out and bought the VHSs when they were released.
Yep. I had
immediately.
Yeah.
Then you didn't rewatch the Disney films a lot.
My mom subscribed to the vault, like, oh, it's gonna go in the vault. We gotta buy it. So she would buy because they're gonna be worth money, and they're not. But yeah, no. So maybe that's why I said just me. Maybe this is just me. But like I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen so many Disney movies, and it's just like, okay. Like, I'm not going to go sign up for it to watch Onward or go sign up to watch Frozen 2 or, like...
Onward's good. I've watched it twice.
I'd love to watch Coco. Don't get me wrong. I've never seen it. Like, I've never seen The Incredibles. I've never seen The Incredibles Part 2. Like, there's definitely Disney movies I have not seen, Pixar movies. But...
This is how you know Daniel's not a real Mexican. Hasn't seen Coco yet.
I guess. I guess my grandma's a sensitive subject. I don't want to watch grandma die in the movie.
See, that aspect of the movie is fucking overrated, bro. It's not the movie at all. Really.
How high would you rate The Matrix on your list of movies?
The first Matrix?
Yeah.
Hasn't held up well for me, to be honest with you guys. The Matrix 2 and 3 were just not very good, and that kind of killed the first one for me. That happens sometimes, but it's not.
I think if you watched The Matrix in 1999 in the theaters for the first time, you were like, oh, fuck, this is cool.
It was fucking great, but like now, like,
I think because it's been copied so much and like stylistically been copied so much and like emulated so much, and the graphics don't exactly hold up anymore because what was state of the art then isn't really the same now. And so I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times. I have no problem with the story of The Matrix. I like the idea, the concepts, like the
concept, the idea of it's fine, but like
the thinking behind it, like what that makes you think, makes you like question things, whatever, like. But yeah, I wouldn't rate it like the Matrix trilogy would not be on my list of greatest trilogies of all time, or like I can't pretend like I'm interested to see Matrix 4 either.
It's like I'm not excited about that whatsoever. And then to top it off, to add on to that, it's also like the Matrix trilogy came out around the same time that Lord of the Rings trilogy came out, within a couple years, and it's like that's the
that's the movie that's the trilogy. That's the one you go watch today, and it still holds up 100%.
Yeah, so
without a doubt.
So it's like you got that shit going on with it. So I always kind of throw them in the same, late 90s, early 2000s.
Still, it's a good movie though. It's an important movie. Like, regardless if anyone hates it or loves it or whatever, it's an important movie in cinema history.
I think it's on a cultural level, pop culture here in the States. It's definitely replaced some of the older sci-fi movies. Like I mentioned before on a podcast, like the Terminator is not culturally relevant anymore with people, but I think people still drop Matrix references, take the blue pill or the red pill. Like people still say that shit all the time and stuff like that. Like little things like that.
And if you've watched any action movie from the 2000s, any Indian action movie in the 2000s, you can see the inspiration behind it, because Wachowski's style of action is very much like on display, I feel like, on some of these films.
Yeah, there's that. And I know somebody got mad the other day because they watched the Tanji um, trailer reaction we did. Yeah, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then you guys need to stop comparing everything to fucking every like old like war film to 300. And I replied like, you can't, because the way the film looks, the action sequences are all fucking directly inspired by 300. Like Zack Snyder came up with this style,
Well,
and now
I would go a
everybody seems to
step
use it.
further. I would go a step further. I wouldn't even say it's inspired. I would argue that it's not inspired, but it's gonna look the same because it's shot in the same way. They're shooting on green screen, so like it doesn't matter. Because if you watch the movie, the reason why I say it's not like that, because like there's not a lot of speed ramping and slow motion, because when you watch it, it's kind of just straight action. But because everything's on green screen, it's always going to look like what Zack Snyder did because he shot it on green screen. So like that's what I like. That's why I mean I go a step further and just saying like, regardless if you're inspired by not, the techniques to film it are the fucking same. So it's gonna look similar regardless if you were like you want it to look that way or not.
And that's okay.
No, yeah,
It's
that's
not.
that's
It's not
it didn't
mental.
stop me. It didn't stop me from
Yeah.
liking the action scenes at all. So let's answer these 3 questions because they've been asked 3 times now, or a few times. First one, going by Indian standards, what do you think about the guerrilla shooting style used in the film? For this one, Satya.
Well, now we know it was guerrilla. I didn't know that it was shot guerrilla style, so that kind of answers some of the questions that we brought up earlier in the review about budget.
I assume anytime they were on the streets was guerrilla. That was
Okay.
when I watched it. And actually, for movies of this budget level, I would assume that too. Like even on Kashyap movies, you can tell like they'll shoot on a fucking rooftop down with the telephoto lens, so like they can avoid traffic and people and shit. Like just have the actors act. I thought it was fine. Question 2, also about the movie: were the actors chosen in the film character appropriate? Other than the neighbor, I thought like the main character's love interest, she was obviously way too fucking hot.
Hey, now we don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of really poor chicks that are super hot and completely like perfectly made up and very manicured and whatnot.
Who are also singers and like stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I thought everyone was pretty good. Okay, one of the fat guys, the fat guy was the fat guy wanted to, was it?
Yeah, the like the landlord or whatever in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was all right with the casting. There was never a time where I was like, nah, what the fuck is no, none of the actors took me out.
I agree, and I like the fat the mob boss with the bald head. Like, I like the characters. I liked how they all played with each other. They played off each other. They like cracked jokes on each other, and they were just. I thought the film was actually pretty well cast overall. Like even the bosses, the one who gets his head shot off, like that all fit. Like I was able to understand power structures just by blocking, just by like performances. Like everything felt right. It didn't feel like one guy was out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fucking neighbor, like I said, too hot.
Yeah, great
Uh
list.
oh, she's great in Rangila. That's she's actually RGV's like
Muse.
muse. He pursued her for so long, and she just basically was like no. But he would try to put her in like all his movies, like do everything, and she just never was about that RGV life.
Well, good for her.
And then this is the last question. I'll have it from Avinash unless you have one. Um, did you guys see Hitchcock's Vertigo? Have you seen Vertigo?
Yes, I think he's asking because of the green screen.
Oh, if he is
Uh,
asking that, then I guess you're right because that movie was not like 300 from Zack Snyder's 300. It doesn't look like it. But I don't think they had green screen back then. I think it was rear screen projector or blue screen potentially, but I think it wasn't even that because that was in the 50s. Like that was just rear screen, just
When was
projector.
when was green screen invented?
Well, they didn't use green screen for 2001, A Space Odyssey, and that was 1968. So, and that would be the movie. Well, I mean, Kubrick is also was a meticulous bastard.
But it's also the budgets, the money given to film at the time that 2001 came out was
Not that much though. Not, I mean, more than Vertigo, yes, but not. It wasn't that much. Star Wars got more money for sure. They went over budget, but it wasn't even close to like what Star Wars got from the beginning. Before they even went, like they got more money.
I'm just saying films in general because films were more the movie theaters were definitely more popping back than they are now. So
Oh, here's a better example then. Star Wars didn't use blue screen.
Well, that's kind of my point. Like if they had the money, they weren't gonna use green screen or blue screen. They're gonna build sets. Like I think
Oh, I see what you're saying.
people use green
right.
screens now to save money. Yeah, it's a budgetary.
It wasn't cost effective. Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
I mean,
I think that's gonna do it for us.
Yeah, unless you want to keep answering questions, that's.
No, I need to go to bed. You guys, pay attention to the community page, please. Those of you that are left in here, we're gonna
and Reddit and the Reddit page
and Reddit. Daniel, if you could throw up their options. Excuse me. You guys, let us know what you want us to review next, and we'll try to get another one up next week. Maybe we can do a couple next week. And also, we're going to try to start getting back to reactions here pretty soon. So you can always throw that out there at us as well.
A lot to look forward to.
A lot to look forward to. I mean, we got my only work. It's funny is I feel like I have less time now with this lockup because
less time, but even though you have more time technically.
Yeah, well, because I have the baby with me full time.
No,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, but there's definitely we'll figure it out, and let us know if you guys are enjoying these Corona casts. I mean, by the number of views we're getting, I know the answer to that, but we like doing them.
That's not true. Anyway, positivity. Stay safe.
Let us know who your favorite guest so far has been on the Corona cast.
The Echo. Yeah. That's who they're gonna say because that's all they've heard is Echo.
The Echo is the guest. But stay inside, guys. Stay inside.
Don't get beat up.
Don't get beat up by the cops. Like I wish. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I kind of wish they would do that here. Like, fuck some people.
I will tell you, I had to drive. One last thing. It took me at 5:00. I can't tell you when the last time I've ever done this. It took me. I went from here to downtown LA at 5:00, and I got there in 27 minutes. I was back home by 6:00. I left my house at 5. Traffic, boom. Like that should be dead stop. I didn't slow down once.
Wow.
I can't. I know on a Monday too, or Tuesday or whatever. Can't tell you when that's ever happened before. But anyway, all right. I'm going to end the stream now.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
If it'll let me.